New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
My name is Mary Berger, and welcome to Diva Talk. So tonight is kind of an interesting show. I have a lot to talk to you about tonight. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is Mercury retrograde. And I'm going to kind of be glancing over here a little bit. I want to see when we go live on Facebook. Here we go. Awesome. I'm going to mute my volume on that, but I'm just going to kind of monitor this in case anybody has a question to ask. But anyway, so Diva Talk is a radio show that broadcasts every other Thursday night. And I'm just going to adjust my little camera here so you're not seeing my fan whirling about up above and have that as a distraction. But anyway, Diva Talk is a show that broadcasts live every other Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. on the News 72 Media Network. News 72 Media is a media company, and they do book publishing, they do radio shows, internet radio shows, they do branding, they do websites, they do all sorts of stuff. And Kelly Lair is the genius behind the scenes making this all happen. Thank you, Kelly Lair, for making this happen for us tonight. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to be talking a lot about several topics tonight. Number one is Mercury retrograde. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Windows 10 version 1803, a couple of tips to kind of help you not, or help you block Windows 10 updates if you need to block those, and talking a little bit about what's coming up in the future with ComputerDiva and our Diva Care line of products. So I'm going to get to my first topic, which is Mercury retrograde. So if any of you follow astrology, you know about Mercury retrograde. And basically what that means is when the planet Mercury appears to the human eye to be going backwards in the night sky instead of its normal revolution around the sun. And when that happens, strange things take place in your lives. One of the things that I tend to focus on is its effects on technology. And if you see me kind of reaching over here to my right tonight, it's because I have this little touch-sensitive lamp on a shelf on top of my desk that the lamp keeps going on and off. And then sometimes it will dim, sometimes it will brighten. I need to pay attention to that and find out if that only happens in Mercury retrograde or if it happens outside of that. But I have found it very interesting. Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year for about a 3-week period. And I need to just pay attention to that and find out if this lamp does the same thing outside of Mercury retrograde. So anyway, my other theory about this lamp is I have some pretty interesting guardian angels, and I think it's kind of their way of communicating to me, although I'm not sure exactly tonight what the message is. They haven't made it clear to me. So at any rate, Mercury retrograde. I wanted to talk tonight about what its effects are on the various zodiac signs. So before I get into that, I'll just talk a little bit about kind of what's happened in my world with Mercury retrograde the past 3 weeks. It goes out of retrograde this Saturday, kind of Saturday into Sunday. And so while it's in retrograde, you're going to see all sorts of weird things with technology, such as my light. I have had a lot of jobs in the past 2.5 weeks that have gone extra long because of Mercury retrograde, in my mind. And things that have gone bad in terms of jobs or things that have gone wonky on computers for my clients in the past 3 weeks. I had an instance today where all of a sudden the antivirus software was just kind of half there and half not. I still haven't finished working on that one. I'll finish that tomorrow, but just really weird things. So anyway, how does Mercury retrograde affect you based on what your zodiac sign is? So I'm going to go through the 12 zodiac signs, and I'll kind of outline what you need to be looking for during these times of Mercury retrograde. So if you are an Aquarian, the Aquarius is the sign that governs relationships, friendships, which are put at risk. Relationships and friendships are put at risk during Mercury retrograde. Petty squabbles, misunderstandings, and miscommunications abound. Know who your friends are if you're an Aquarius. If you're a Pisces, foggy thinking, daydreams, and escapism are the norm. Day-to-day realities confound otherwise clear heads. When Mercury is in retrograde, especially if it's in Pisces. Proactive practice creative pursuits, writing, dancing, photography, film, or painting, if you're a Pisces. If you are an Aries, expect to be frustrated and frazzled. Assertive, impulsive Aries want to move ahead, and all of the energy is going backward. Watch what you say and how you say it. Pay attention to what people say to you. You might be pleasantly surprised. If you are a Taurus, take time to formulate your thoughts. Don't kind of rush into speaking anything. Taurus, an unhurried sign, slows down the mental processes. He also governs banking, so delay money matters, especially if you're a Taurus. Review financial matters and position yourself for growth. In Gemini, because Gemini rules communications, be prepared for miscommunications when Mercury is in this sign. Expect lots of phone calls or none, and lost or misplaced mail. You may not articulate clearly, and gossip abounds. Old friends may reconnect. If you are Cancer, expect annoyances at home with baking, gardening, and household duties under domesticated Cancer. Complete repair projects that weren't finished or done correctly. In Leo, avoid speculative investments. It is not a good time to buy and sell or do any trading at all. Instead, analyze your investment portfolio. Use your know-how and advisory skills to help friends and associates. If you are a Virgo, challenging situations arise, especially in the workplace. Expect product delays and equipment breakdowns, as well as crankiness amongst coworkers and finicky, detail-oriented Virgo. Double check your work before you call it finished. In Libra, accept your physical attributes. Do not have a makeover. Indecision reigns, so limit your purchases or risk returning them. Libra, representing beauty, grace, charm, and diplomacy, is out of balance. Refresh, relax, and rejuvenate. If you were Scorpio, which is me, emotions rule, not common sense, so beware. Avoid affairs of the heart. Passionate Scorpio is also secretive, and your secrets may seep out. Keep them in a diary. In Sagittarius, it is not a time to travel, so reschedule or expect delays, lines, and lost directions. Instead, take care of local affairs. Patience and a sense of humor are needed. And lastly, in Capricorn, avoid buying, selling, or renting real estate under Capricorn, the sign that governs property matters. Expect problems with paperwork, packing, and movers. Reunite with family or vacation at home. So that's kind of what you can expect with Mercury in retrograde on your zodiac sign. So I think the bottom line with Mercury in retrograde, you just need to be aware of your technology kind of acting up. Don't really go into money matters. Don't be signing new contracts. Don't make big decisions during Mercury in retrograde. It happens 3 times a year for 3 weeks each. It is kind of a pain, 9 weeks out of the year, 9 weeks out of 52 weeks. You have to be a little bit extra cautious, but as long as you're aware and you kind of go with the flow, everything will work out the way it's supposed to. I'm just going to ignore that light. So with that said, I want to talk now about Windows 10, specifically Windows 10 version 18.03. So for the past couple of years, Microsoft has been releasing regular updates to Windows 10. And they usually will release a major update in the spring and then another one in the fall. Last fall, the update was called the Fall Creators Update because it included a lot of updates for creativity, which your typical business user wouldn't be interested in. I think it was geared towards more towards the personal user. They have not come up with a name for the spring update. Some people are saying it's going to be called the Spring Creators Update. I don't know about that. We'll wait to hear from Microsoft on that. But it was supposed to be released 2 days ago. There was never an official release date. They just kind of kept saying, oh, it'll be a Tuesday in April. And the second Tuesday of every month is called Patch Tuesday, and that's usually when they release patches. So it was really expected that Windows 10 version 18.03 would be released 2 days ago. Well, it wasn't. Instead of the major update, just regular bug fixes were released. And then it was uncovered that they found a bug in Windows 10 version 18.03 that caused them to kind of pull back on the release and hold it off until they can get it fixed. So it probably won't be released for another couple of weeks. So we kind of have a 2-week reprieve on our Windows updates. If any of you know, and you've experienced the Windows 10 updates, you know that the past 6 months have really been a pain for Windows updates. They have been problematic, they have been buggy. I have had to fix several computers that were on the brink of a meltdown, all because of a Windows update. And it's really, really been painful. I'm hoping that Microsoft has learned from this situation and that they are going to be putting policies and practices in place that will make these updates easier for all of us to endure. Especially since they haven't given us a whole lot of choice on whether or not we are going to upgrade our computer. There are a couple of things you can do that will stop your computer from doing Windows 10 updates, but I don't recommend doing them for too long because you really do want to keep your computer up to date. You just don't want to be the person on the front lines of the Windows updates. So with that said, one of the things you can do, and you have to be a little bit computer savvy to do this, there is a list of services on your computer that run in the background. And these are basically programs that run behind the scenes that do things on your computer that you need to have take place, but you really don't need to know about them. The Windows Update service is one of those. If you are the least bit computer savvy at all, you can go in and you can stop that service from running. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you. We're going to go up to my top screen. I think it's sharing. Yes, it is. So I'm going to go into, I'm just going to bring up the window here, and I'm going to drag it up here. So what I did was I went to my search and I typed in services.msc, hit enter, and it pulled up this window. These are all the services that are running in the background on your computer. And you want to scroll down to Windows Update. Here it is, right here. And on mine, it's running. And I'm going to right-click on it and go into Properties. And We have several different startup types that we can see here. Mine was actually set to manual. Typically they're set for automatic, which means when your computer boots up, the Windows Update service will automatically start running, and it will check behind the scenes to see if there's any Windows updates going on. But you can always go in here and set yours to manual. Click on Apply. Oh, access is denied. Isn't that interesting? And then click on OK. That has to do with permissions. I've got a brand new laptop here and I haven't tweaked my permissions yet. So, but at any rate, any of these services that are running here, you can go in and change them from automatic to manual, which means they will only run if you specifically go in there and tell it to run. So that's one of the ways that you can get rid of your Windows updates. The other one, I'm just going to go in here into my Windows settings, and we are going to go to network, and I am connected through an Ethernet connection, and we are going to, actually I'm going to go into Wi-Fi here. Let's see if I could find it. They may have changed it. Let's see. Nope, it's not in there. Somewhere in here, there is a setting, and I believe it's only for Wi-Fi, and I'm connected on a wired connection because I'm broadcasting right now. I don't want to switch to wireless, but if you were to go into your Wi-Fi settings, there is an area in here where you can say, I want to specify that I'm using a paid internet connection or a limited internet connection, which means you pay for a limited amount of bandwidth every month. And you can go in there and say, hey, since I'm paying for a limited amount of bandwidth every month, I want you to stop all Windows updates unless I give you the okay. So that is the second way that you can get rid of Windows updates. There is another way, and there is a little piece of software. I'm going to open it up here. And I will move it up to this monitor here. It is called WinArrow Tweaker. It's a piece of free software. Let me expand the screen here a little bit. There we go. And if I click up here in the search, and I just did a search on Windows Update, here we go. I can say, I can check this box. There's another Windows Update here. Is it not here? Let's see. Disable Windows Update. Here it is. So if I go here to disable Windows Update, I can check this box and it will totally disable your Windows updates for you. Not sure how long this will actually last on your computer because Microsoft is masterful at getting around this kind of stuff, but this is another way to disable your Windows updates. And like I said, you probably want to disable your Windows updates for maybe 3 to 6 months, but no longer than that, because you really do want your system to be updated. But by delaying it that 3 to 6 months, you are giving your computer some time to, actually you're giving Microsoft some time to kind of work through the bugs on each of these updates and release solid, stable updates for your computer so that by the time you get the update, things are running pretty smooth. And that's called WinArrow Tweaker. So with that said, I want to talk a little bit about what features are going to be available in Windows version 18.03. And I've put together 8 features that I thought you might be interested in. And I'm going to show you some screenshots. I can't show it to you live because the update hasn't been released yet, but I can show you some screenshots and kind of talk you through it. So I'm going to open up the first feature, and it's kind of the highlighted feature for this update. Let me bring it up here. And this feature is called the timeline. And the timeline is actually pretty cool. It shows you a graphical representation of kind of what's happened on your computer for the day. In the top portion of the screen, it's going to show you the windows for your programs that are currently open. And then it's going to show you kind of through a timeline of what windows you've opened on your computer in the time frame for the day, and kind of what you've been doing, all the activities on your computer. And the way you kind of invoke that is by pressing the Windows key, which is the little on your keypad. It's the down in the lower left-hand corner. It's the key with the 4 squares on it, the little window key. Window and tab, and that kind of triggers it on and off. Right now on our screen, we have just the open windows that we've got. If I do a Windows tab, it goes back to my full-size screen. So it's kind of like a toggle switch, kind of like a light switch. But it's really kind of cool if you really want to go back in time on your day and say, oh, you know, I had this email open at 8 o'clock this morning. I want to go back to it. I don't remember exactly where it is. Or I went to a particular website and I need to get back to it, but I don't remember what it was. This just kind of shows you what you've been doing throughout the day. So it's really kind of a cool feature. So that is called your timeline. The second one I want to show you, let me close this window here. All right, so number 2 is, this one's really cool. If you have, oh no, we're not going there yet. So the settings window. So when you go into your settings, I'm just going to kind of open up the settings, the current settings window. And we're going to kind of take a look at it side by side. They've kind of changed the look and made it a little bit softer. I think they've added some more features here, but they're kind of highlighting a new developing program that they've been using. They're adding a lot more features here, and they're making it look softer. So nothing dramatic here, but it is one of the features. So let's go into number 3. That's the one that I was talking about, app volume by device. I'm really kind of excited about this one. This allows you to change the volume based on your device. So if you have speakers set up on your computer, you might have a webcam, you might have maybe a Bluetooth speaker, any kind of device that has volume attached to it, you can set those volume levels per device. Up until this point in time, you've only been able to set just the volume on your computer instead of the volume per device. So as you can see here, kind of in the screenshot, we've got our system sounds are up to 100%. So for the Snagit software, we've got it up to 100%, and for Firefox, we've got it up to 100%. So you can change any of those levels so that maybe you're going to be opening Firefox and going into a YouTube video. You don't want that to blare out at 100%. You can smooth that down, smooth it down to about 50%, and so you're not being blasted for those various programs. So this is a really cool update. I think you guys will really like it. Let's see, this one. Oh, this one is kind of cool, especially for us tech people who are dealing with this every day, and I deal with this several times a day. These are your startup apps. And typically on your computer, so the startup apps are those apps that start and run in the background whenever you boot up your computer. You can turn those on and off based on the app at any time you want. And typically it's done in the task manager. I'm going to bring that up here. So if you open your task manager just by right-clicking on the taskbar at the bottom and choosing task manager, this will open and you can click on startup and you can see the status of your startup items here. So I have all sorts of items. This Overwolf launcher is something I accidentally installed today for my webcam. I don't really want this to be running in the background. It's for games, and I don't play games on my computer, so I'm going to disable that. I'm going to disable this update.exe program that I had installed, but I really don't want it running in the background. I installed my Wondershare Studio today, and I don't want that to be running in the background, so I'm just going to disable that as well. I don't want my Logitech gaming framework to run, so I'm just going to right-click and disable on that. I don't use Dropbox anymore. I got rid of that about a week ago. I'm now using Microsoft OneDrive for all my cloud storage. And you see how it shows here the status, but the startup impact. That's the impact that it has on how long it takes your computer to boot up. So there's some here that are high, my Microsoft OneDrive and my Dashlane password manager. Those have a high impact, but you know, I have decided that's okay because those programs are important to start up and run as soon as the computer boots up. So that's how it currently works now. If we minimize this, we have now in our settings, so you will always have it available in Task Manager, but in the Windows settings, they have now put a place in here for startup apps, and you've got your little toggle switches here that you can turn those on and off. So just a little bit, I think it's a kind of an easier way for most users to reach it, because the majority of users aren't going to know to right-click on the taskbar and choose Task Manager. So if they can find it in their settings, that is a whole lot better for them. What is next? What is next? So that was number 4. The next one has to do with our Windows updates, and that has to do with set upload and download limits for updates. This one is pretty important. So I'll tell you a story about this one here. I had a client that I went and saw last week. She had a laptop. She has a Verizon MiFi device that she uses for her internet. And she originally subscribed to a 6 GB data cap per month. That was working fine for her. For the most part, she never used any of that data. Basically, what she used her computer for was to get email, maybe do a little bit of searching on the internet, but that's it. So all of a sudden, she started going over those data caps, and she had to up her subscription. And she's now done that a couple of times to the point where now she's at 18 gigabytes for her data cap. So when I was out there, we talked about it, and I did a little bit of nosing around, and I said, you know, I bet most of that data cap is from Windows updates. And if you have a little MiFi device to get on the internet, it's almost like using a hotspot on your phone, probably the same speeds. If you have that, then you know, your downloads for Windows updates are going to be pretty slow. And what we found with her was the Windows updates, the files are so large that it would get to a certain point in the download and then it would fail. So then it would have to start downloading all over again. Or the Windows update would start to install and something happened and the computer had to be rebooted, and so which meant that that download had to start all over again. So you know, it was just kind of ridiculous that she was going through that. So On this new feature in the 1803 release, you can limit how much bandwidth is used for downloading updates in the background. So, and a lot of times it will use all your bandwidth and then your computer becomes unusable. You can also limit how much bandwidth is used for downloading updates in the foreground. I haven't seen an explanation between those two yet, so I'm not quite sure exactly what they mean by that. You also have upload settings if you're uploading files to other websites, or maybe it's like your Dropbox, your OneDrive, and what have you. And you can also choose your monthly upload and download limits, and that is huge, and it will tell you how much you have left. So that's a great way for people on the little MiFi devices or the hotspots to really limit how Windows updates are affecting your internet experience and affecting your monthly allocation of data. So that one is much, much needed. So number 6. Where's my 876? So this one is something that you've experienced on your smartphones, your tablets, and it's now coming to Windows computers. This is called nearby sharing, and it's that feature where you can have a file on your computer and share it with other computers nearby. I find this highly useful now for Windows computers. I'm looking forward to this because oftentimes I might have a computer in my office that has a file on it and I want to grab it, and I may not have it networked so that it could see the other computers in the office. And so I invariably end up putting a thumb drive in that computer, copying the file to the thumb drive, putting it in my regular computer, and using it from there. So this nearby sharing is really kind of an exciting prospect. I'm looking forward to that. I know I do that with my photos between my iPhone and my iPad all the time. Take a photo on my iPhone and boom. I don't really have my iPad connected up to iCloud where the photos are automatically shared. I've got too many photos for that, so having that sharing process comes in really handy. So now we have it on our Windows 10 computers. Yay! The next one is called Focus Assist, and that really comes into play with your notifications, and it's pretty much the same thing as having like a do not disturb. I use the do not disturb on my iPhone every single day. I've got it set up so that from the hours of 5 p.m. until 8 a.m., my phone is on do not disturb. And only those people who were in my favorites list can get through in terms of phone calls or messages. If you are one of my friends or clients out there, don't take it personally if I don't answer your phone call after 5 o'clock or before 8 a.m. in the morning. It's just that with the business that I run, it's heavily intensive in phone calls and emails. So I try and limit my downtime to those emails that are coming through, and text messages and phone calls. So you can do the same thing on your computer. You can, with the Focus Assist, you can have it totally turned off, like this switch here says, and you can receive everything from everybody. Or you can set a priority list and receive just items from those people on your priority list, or maybe just get alarms. And then in the automatic rules down here, you could say, I want Focus Assist to be turned on during particular hours, which is really handy. When I'm duplicating my display, I'm not sure what they mean by that. Or yes, absolutely, when you're playing games, you want all of those notifications and alarms to be turned off. And then this is kind of cool at the bottom. Show me a summary of what I missed while Focus Assist was on. So you know, once that is turned on and you've gone through your period of time with Focus Assist turned on, you can take a look at a list of everything that might have tried to get your attention, but while you were on Focus Assist or Do Not Disturb. And it will show you a list. That's really, really kind of cool. So let's see, that was number 7. Number 8 is really, really handy. Password recovery on local accounts. So on your Windows computer, you have 2 different types of accounts. You have a Microsoft account, or you can have a local account. So when you set up your Windows computer, you specify which one of those accounts you want. Microsoft really, really pushes hard to get you to sign in with a Microsoft account, which is an email address and a password. And most of the time when I set up a new computer, I set it up for a local account, which means it's not directly tied to a Microsoft account. And you have a little bit more anonymity that way. But the problem with the local account is that if you ever forget your password, it's almost impossible to get it back or recover it. I have ways of hacking into the computer and changing the password and figuring out what it is. But the average user doesn't have that. So with this, you can create security questions and answers for those local accounts, which means if you ever forget what that account is, you can go through the same password reset process that you do for almost any internet web-based type of account. So this is exciting. I'm looking forward to this. It will save a lot of people a lot of time in recovering their forgotten passwords. So those are the 8 features of Windows 10 version 1803 that I kind of wanted to highlight for you. I think it's kind of exciting. And they'll be out in a few weeks whenever Microsoft has fixed their bugs. So with that said, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Office 365 / Microsoft 365. Microsoft is taking their Windows software kind of in a new direction, and I kind of alluded to this, I think, at the either at the last show or the show before that, where they are going to be selling the Windows software as a subscription instead of, you know, just purchasing your software. Right now, you pretty much purchase your Windows 10 software when you buy a new computer, and it comes loaded with Windows 10. So it's going to be kind of subscription-based, and I know one of the vendors that I work with, AppRiver, I work with them a lot on email and Office 365. They've already got it up on their website as a product that you can purchase called Microsoft 365. And it's a combination of Office 365 and Windows bundled into a monthly subscription. And it means your Windows software will always be kept up to date. You will never have to purchase another version of Windows again. And they are charging $21.95 per month per user for this. Kind of an interesting concept. I'm not quite sure if that is something I would buy into at this point in time, because I usually roll my computers over every 3 or 4 years. And so I usually tend to have almost the latest version of Windows that is out there. So, but you know, I just kind of wanted to mention that to kind of see, you know, how it plays out. We're going to watch this together over the next several months to see, you know, kind of how Microsoft rolls that out. So a couple of other things I wanted to kind of tell you about. Let me get back to my notes here. And it's in terms of Windows. And specifically Windows 7 and Windows 8. Here we go. So Windows has pre-planned expiration dates for all of their versions of their operating systems. Windows 7, I just kind of wanted to point out to everybody here, Windows 7, which is still extremely popular to a lot of users out there, the end of support, the end of extended support for Windows 7 is January 7th, 2020. So you have less than 2 years if you have a Windows computer to kind of migrate off of Windows 7 to either Windows 10 or to purchase a new computer, which will have Windows 10. Windows 8.1, the end of extended support is January 10th, 2023. Although quite frankly, most people have already moved from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10. I still have a couple of customers on Windows 8.1. So those are the extended dates, end of support dates. So what I wanted to talk about now, we have a little bit of time left in the show. I had a conversation with a client a couple of days ago, and I thought it was a really interesting conversation, and I kind of wanted to relay this to all of you, just to get your minds thinking about when you're going to buy a new computer. So this particular client, she has a MacBook Pro, and it's probably about 2012. So it's between 6 and 7 years old. Now, the Apple products last a lot longer than Windows products. So she asked me, she said, based on the age of my computer, what should I be thinking of in terms of, either upgrading it or buying a new computer? So first I talked to her about upgrades, and I said, with your particular MacBook Pro, it has a regular hard drive in it, and it was made before Microsoft started selling their MacBooks with flash drives or solid state drives built into the motherboard, which means her computer had a hard drive that you can simply unscrew from the chassis, take out, and replace with a different hard drive. So I suggested to her, because her computer was running really, really slow, I suggested to her, hey, why don't we replace the hard drive in your computer with a solid state drive? Solid state drives run a whole lot faster than the old types of hard drives that have the little platter on it with the needle that goes around and picks up the data, very similar to the old record players, for those of you who remember those. I had one. So the solid state drive will give her an incredible speed boost in her system. So she said, hey, yeah, let's do it. So we bought a solid state drive, 500 gig solid state drive. We popped out the old drive, popped in the new, reinstalled the operating system, copied all her data from the old drive to the new, and now she has a MacBook that, before we did this process, took maybe 3 or 4 minutes to boot up fully. Now it takes about 17 seconds to fully boot up into the desktop. And I had done mine about a month ago, and it's a 7 to 8 second boot time from the time I press the start button until the time I get up to my desktop. 7 to 8 seconds. It's awesome. So we then started talking about, so what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years when it's time to replace that computer? How do I go about shopping for a computer? Because, she said, I don't know anything about shopping for a new computer. So I told her, I said, it all depends on what it is that you use your computer for. If you are a gamer, you're going to want to buy a Windows computer, and you're going to want to buy a processor that will handle heavy-duty games. If you are simply using that computer for the internet, email, maybe some word processing, Word or Excel documents, and based on how much data you have on your computer, then it takes on a different flavor. You can, go for a Windows computer. Or even a Mac. You can go for a Mac in either of those scenarios. So I said, but what really matters is how much data do you have on your current computer? So that will tell you how large of a hard drive you need to purchase in the new computer. So I gave her a few examples of clients that I had who, they were Mac users, and they decided they needed some new equipment. So they went out and bought MacBook Airs with 120 gigabyte hard drive. $999. It's their entry-level MacBook Air, and this was a couple years ago. And they quickly filled up their hard drive space. And with these particular computers, the MacBook Airs, most of the Apple products that are manufactured now, everything is soldered into the motherboard, so you cannot upgrade them. So now you've gone out and spent $1,000 for this beautiful, beautiful laptop, and you filled it with your data. So, I pretty much said to her, I said, when you get ready to buy a new computer, you really want to be cognizant of the fact that you want to buy something that will meet your needs and that you're not going to outgrow within the first 6 months after you buy it. So, and the other thing I told her was, a lot of times you will see ads in the local papers or internet ads, especially Best Buy, where they're selling these super, super cheap Windows computers, $329. And I said, you know, you really have to be aware of what's in that computer. It's, you know, not all computers are made alike. And when you go out to buy a new computer, you want to look at that $329 super bargain computer. Well, if you look at the attributes of it, you'll find that the processor in that computer is probably 3 to 4 years old. It doesn't have a whole lot of memory, probably doesn't have a whole lot of hard drive space. So it's not the bargain you really think you're getting, because you're buying this brand new computer, you take it home, it's got a 4-year-old processor without a whole lot of memory. It's not going to be super speedy. So you really have to be aware of what it is you're looking for when you're going out to buy the new computer. So I told you a little bit earlier about my client who had the Verizon MiFi and the Windows Update issue. So the second half of that story was the fact that, you know, she said, you know, this laptop is probably 4 to 5 years old. It was a Windows laptop. And she said, really, I'm looking at replacing it, but all I do is check my email. And I might go out to the internet now and then. And she said, you know, what should I be buying? And I said, well, what kind of phone do you have? And she said, well, I have an iPhone. And I said, well, if all you're doing is checking your email and going out to the internet now and then, you're not really doing anything else, you might want to consider an iPad. It is it's a comparable price for a piece of hardware that you can use to go out and check your email. I said, it's going to do a much better job for you. You won't have the headaches of these Windows updates going through your MiFi device. I said, you are in much more control over your software updates on the iPad than you are the Windows computer. So we kind of talked it out, and she decided that's what she was going to do. And I'm actually going out there tomorrow to help her set up the new iPad. So there's a lot of decisions that can be made in terms of replacing your current equipment. And if you are in that kind of area where you're thinking about replacing your equipment, give me a phone call, send me an email, and you know, let's have a conversation about it, because I don't want you to spend a whole lot of money on something that is not going to meet your needs. So we're coming towards the end of our show, but I wanted to talk a little bit about my Diva Care line of products. There's a lot of my listeners out there that are Diva Care subscribers, and Diva Care is automated maintenance for your computer. It's available right now for Windows computers only. Someday I hope to have Diva Care software for Apple computers, but Windows computers only now. And automated maintenance means that we provide you with your antivirus software. We do a cleanup on your computer every week. We update your third-party software. We monitor your Windows updates. We monitor any alerts that are produced by the system so that we can proactively make repairs to your computer if something is about to go wrong. And we also provide you with a certain amount of labor based on the subscription level that you decide to purchase. So it's always been one of my goals to educate people on how to use their computers and how to become friends with them, and how to just utilize them in the way they should be utilized. And there's not a whole lot out there for the average user to really tap into in terms of lots of educational resources. I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there, but I want to target it to my average user, which is either the senior citizens, because I deal with a lot of senior citizens, or small business folks who really don't have a whole lot of time to master their computers, and they kind of want to be led through the educational process. So for a long time, I've been thinking about creating a membership website for my Diva Care clients that will provide them with those educational opportunities. So I'm in the process of building that right now. And the Diva Care membership website will include all sorts of blog postings, how to do things on your computers, just informational tidbits. It will include live online classes. I'm not sure how often we'll do those yet. I haven't quite nailed it down, but live online classes at least once a month of a particular area of the computer that I kind of wanted to highlight and show you how to use. Maybe once a month just doing live online Q&A sessions where I open the portal for 2 hours, and anybody who wants to jump in and ask a question can. You jump in, you ask your question, and if you're limited on time, you jump out. But that kind of process allows other people to listen to what your question was. Maybe somebody else who asks a question you might be interested in. It's just a community collaborative type of vehicle for learning more about your computer. So I'm really excited about that. I hope to have some pre-recorded classes that we will post. Of course, the Diva Talk shows will be posted on there. I will have monthly ebooks that will be posted in the Diva Care membership portal that will educate you on all sorts of different areas of your computers. So my goal is to educate my clients about their computer and kind of make them less scary, more understandable. So sometime in the next few months, that will start to roll out to my Diva Care clients, and I will start advertising that to people outside of the Diva Care membership family. And hopefully we can get other people who are interested in that type of opportunity to kind of join in our group. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. We are kind of at the end of our show. And so I just wanted to say thank you to New 72 Media and Kelly Lair, who so graciously give me the opportunity to do this show every 2 weeks, and they make this available to me. If you don't know anything about New 72 Media, they are a Portland-based company, and their intention is to collaborate with a collective that is composed of individuals who honor the frequencies and vibrations of integrity, respect, honor, and trust. An awesome, awesome company. So what do they do? I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the show, but they do book publishing, branding, events, radio shows, and they have an online directory. In fact, the next live event for New 72 Media is tomorrow night from 6 to 7, when one of their authors, Cinda Stevens-Lansway, will be interviewed on KBOO 90.7 FM in Portland about her book, I Know Now, Violence to Victory, Trauma to Truth. So that will be a must listen to radio show. I highly recommend it. So with that said, I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched live tonight. We will also be posting this on YouTube in a couple of days on the New 72 YouTube page, as well as my ComputerDiva YouTube page. And I look forward to that. So thank you again for listening or watching, whatever it is you're doing. And I will see you again 2 weeks from tonight. Thank you very much. Good night now.